Stephen's got business as ever on the programme. I'm going to start with the French bank BNP Paribas. Has been hit with a fine in the US. This is over rigging the currency exchange market, Stephen.
The Federal Reserve has fined BNP $246 million for what it calls unsafe and unsound practices in its foreign exchange division. It found the bank had failed to identify and stop the practices that saw traders colluding to influence prices in a market that's worth over $5 trillion a day. BNP says it's already set aside money to cover the fine, as Claire Rush now reports.
A hefty fine for manipulating currency exchange rates. The Federal Reserve Board on Monday announced that it will fine BNP Paribas $246 million for the firm's unsafe and unsound practices in the foreign exchange market. Unsafe and unsound practices referring to BNP traders' use of electronic chat rooms to manipulate prices, and this over a period of 6 years until 2013. Practices that the bank failed to stop, according to the Fed. France's biggest bank said it deeply regrets the past misconduct, calling it a breach of its high standards. It's the second time in just 2 months that U.S. regulators have penalized BNP over the same issue. In May, the bank agreed to pay New York state regulators $350 million for misconduct in a market which is worth over $5 trillion a day. In January, BNP trader Jason Katz was the first to plead guilty to participating in the price-fixing conspiracy, but the French bank is not alone in the scandal. Several banks on both sides of the Atlantic have been fined over $10 billion for similar use of chat rooms to influence currency rates.
Meanwhile, 3 former foreign exchange traders from other banks have appeared in New York over the scandal. Christopher Ashton of Barclays Bank, Rohan Ramchandani of Citigroup and Richard Usher of JP Morgan Chase are accused of being part of a key group of traders who manipulated the foreign exchange market, dubbed the cartel. The 3 British nationals chose not to oppose extradition and pleaded not guilty during the hearing in Manhattan.
Markets then, Stephen. Tell us what's going on.
Well, starting with BNP Paribas, their shares opening down around 0.5% in Paris, so investors not terribly worried about what's happened and with that decision in New York. European shares trading down in general, as you can see. One share we picked out for you from Stockholm actually is Ericsson. They're down 7% at the open after they're posted a bigger than expected loss in trading. Over in Asia, we had falls earlier in the session, but things did pick up towards the end of the day, at least in China, where the Shanghai Composite finished up 0.1%. The big concern in China was technology shares. They had hit a 2.5-year low on the Chinex index earlier in trading as well. One company that's having a very good day on the markets is Toshiba. Shares in the troubled Japanese electronics giant jumping by 19% in Tokyo. This after a San Francisco court delayed a decision on an attempt to block the sale of the company's memory chip business. Toshiba has today acknowledged that it won't close that deal in the next 2 weeks, but that it'll continue to negotiate with bidders on the sale.
Now let's go to the US now. The White House there has begun laying out its priorities. This is for overhauling the North American trade deal.
Reducing the trade deficit with Canada is going to be the biggest, Canada and Mexico, I should say, is one of the main goals in this document. It's a 17-page paper sent to lawmakers by the US Trade Representative, which also includes a proposal to limit currency manipulation by its trading partners. President Donald Trump has in the past criticised the North America Free Trade Agreement, or NAFTA, as being the worst trade deal maybe signed anywhere ever. The plan released on Monday doesn't look very different from existing US trade policy, its publication coinciding with Mr. Trump launching a Buy America campaign.
We're going to talk about Netflix now on the programme, which is getting bigger and bigger and bigger, isn't it?
The video streaming service now has 104 million users worldwide. It added 5 million in the last quarter, helping to boost earnings by almost a third to $2.8 billion. Now, more than half of Netflix subscribers are now outside of the United States. The company says it'll continue to invest in new content after the success of original series like House of Cards and Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt. The news sending the company's shares soaring by 10% on after-hours trading on Wall Street.
Now finally from Stephen, a company in Ecuador trying to break the cycle of frog poaching.
Now, believe it or not, rare frogs from Ecuador can fetch hundreds of dollars each on the black market. So as a result, they're a big target for poachers. Now, in an effort to stop many of the species becoming extinct, the scientific company Wikiri is now raising 12 of these species and selling them themselves for export for up to $600 each. The company claims that it's an ethical bio-trade that helps to counter illegal smuggling and poaching. They sell around 500 frogs a year. Wikiri, though, also hosts a research centre which is helping to preserve some of these endangered species.
They're quite cute, some of them, aren't they?
Bizarre.
Beautiful. Yeah.
It's the see-through ones that you can see the insides of them.
Yeah, quite amazing stuff. Stephen with Business On.